this picture of like Paul and Timothy. And Timothy says in his letter to, or Paul says to his letter in Timothy, he says, fan into flame the gift of God that was given to you by the laying on of hands. And then in another letter that he wrote, he says, do not neglect the gift that was given to you by the laying on of my hands, the presbytery, the elders. So he says it to him in two different letters. But I just, in my head for some reason, I saw Timothy encouraging Paul. And I thought to myself, what would it have been like if it was actually the letter of 1 Paul? Like Timothy wrote to Paul and said the same thing. Fan into flame the gift of God that was given to you by the laying on of hands. I thought sometimes it's not just Paul to Timothy, but sometimes it's Timothy to Paul. And I felt like in my heart, like what the Lord might be saying to some of you is that God's not done with you right now. And he wants you to know that. Fan into flame the gift of God that was given to you by the laying on of hands, by the scriptures that told you that God has a purpose for your life. And that's what happens is sometimes we have the trophies on the shelf. We've seen God do great and mighty things, and all we do is dust the shelf. And I feel like the Lord is saying, like, it's time to not look at what was on the shelf or what the past years have done, but today, in the game, today, on the field, God has something for the generation that's above, the generation that's below, and he wanted me to encourage you. So let me be the Timothy to encourage the Pauls or the Paulettes. Hear me when I say this to you. God's not done. And he wants to fan into flame the gifts of God in your life. It's time to not retire. It's time to get refired. God's going to do something unique as we come together